like to add to my Bible timelines, and I'll even put it on legal size. I like to add genealogies and maps and study helps to my Bible. And I do have a video on all the inserts that I've chosen to put into my Bible at this point. The other day, I was in my Wednesday night Bible study, and we are currently reading through the book of Genesis. And we were in Genesis 14, and the person that was teaching the class commented on the fact that it would be helpful to have a map to show the locations that are happening here, how far apart things are. It would give a person more of a feel for what's happening. And so what I thought I'd do is share the process of finding an image to go into my Bible at this spot, how I download it from online, how I set it up as an insert, and how I print it off, and then how I add it to my Bible. So I'm pretty sure I just want to add a map, but actually what I'm going to do is Google Genesis 14 just to see if there are any other types of things that I'd want to have in my Bible. So what I do is type in Genesis 14, and it brings up automatically sites where you can go and read Genesis 14, but I'm actually looking for images and other types of helps I might want to add to my Bible. So what I do is instead of having it say all, I come over to where it shows images, and then there are all kinds of images that automatically come up. And so my first step is always just to look through to see if there's something I hadn't thought of that I might want. I am seeing a map right here, but I'm just going to keep looking to see what else might be there. Here's another map that automatically came up. And up at the top here, I'm going to put in the word map to see what comes up. And so now I have all kinds of different options showing different information. In Genesis 14, there's a battle and Lot is taken captive. Abraham has to go rescue him. So there's all kinds of different maps. One thing I want to mention as I do this is when you click on something, you get that image that you were looking at, but then you also get a bunch underneath that can be more specific to what you are looking at, and you can go to see more. So you can just travel through and see a bunch of different images and figure out what you'd like most. Now this is one map that I really like the looks of, and over here it says like Genesis 12:6, Genesis 12:8, mountain between Bethel and Ai, Genesis 18, Genesis 20, Genesis 22, and it shows the sites on here. It does not show distances to give you a real sense of the miles traveled, but I really do like the looks of this. So this one is information about Genesis 14 and the map. So it shows 4 kings attack, 5 kings defend, 4 kings return, Abram recovers Lot. And this area right here is blown up bigger here. And this one shows the distance. So I like that that is something that you can look and see how many miles it is. So what I'm going to do is push the control button and then the left side of my mouse pad, and that brings up this option. And I'm going to push copy image, and then I'm going to bring up a Microsoft Word document. And once again, I'm going to push the control key and the left mouse pad, and I'm going to select paste. And that's going to add the image here. Up here at the top of Microsoft Word, you'll notice that there's this ruler. So this image I already know is too big, because for images to fit into my Bible, I need them to be at the 5.5 mark. So what I do is go down to this square here and see how there's this diagonal arrow thing. I can click on that and make this image smaller so it's about 5.5 inches. And you get a little bit more room than that, but that's a really safe spot for it to be in. I really like this one because it shows the distance. So I'm going to grab this image as well. And that looks pretty good to me on the screen. So those are the images that I've found and I've liked so far. So the next thing that I need to do is make this one the proper height. Now I have a couple options. I can grab this box and bring it back to 8 inches. And you can see that right here. It shows 8 inches, and then also it's lined up over here. But the other thing I can do is leave this at 5.5 inches wide, and then come down here. If it doesn't look too stretched out, just bring this up. So it's going to smush it down. So now this one shows as being 8 inches tall and 5.5 inches wide. So for me, I'm not going to add a text box, but I think I'll go ahead and show that process just in case you're interested. So if you come over here to insert and then text box, and you can draw a text box, And I'm just going to put it here, and then I can write my information in there, like Genesis, whatever I wanted to write. And then as you see up here, you can change the color of the text box. You can also take it out. So there's lots of things that you can do. So now there's no text block. I'm just not going to have one, but that's how you do it. And you just make sure that it's always staying within your border. Another option is to turn this image sideways, so then you can make it bigger. What I do is go to the circle at the top and just slide it to the right or to the left, depending on which way I want it to face in my Bible. And then you can make it bigger or smaller to fit in your Bible. So I can make it that 5.5 inches tall and 8 inches wide, so it's going to be a larger image. For my Bible, I'm just going to leave it the same size, just so I have a little extra room on the bottom for notes. So now let's go into how to print out this document. So one thing to remember is that you want to keep in mind the white spaces. At least with my printer, if you want something to end up front to back, this is on the left side, and then the one down here is on the right side. The good thing is to create the image on this side, just so your ruler works for you. You don't have to do much math, and then just select it and have it go to the right side. And then what's going to happen is when I print it out, it's going to be front to back. So now what I'm going to do to print this out is I'm going to push the print button, and I know there's a way to set it up to print a two-sided document, but this is just what I found is easier for me. One thing you'll want to do is only print the current page, because you'll want to print the first page and then do your turn and flip and then print the second page so that it lines up. So I'm going to push print and it's going to come out. So the first side has printed out. So I'm going to move this up so the second page is selected. And then I'm going to come over and I'm going to make it so it prints on the second page. The one thing to keep in mind for these kind of documents is that it came out this way. So because this is at the top part, I need to turn it around so that this part is still going to come out first. So I'm going to put this in the back. So this one requires a little turn and flip. And again with this, I only want to do the current page and push print. So now this document has the front and the back. It's probably going to be hard to tell, but it is, as long as I have the width and the length correct, it should fit into my Bible, because this image is smaller and it's contained within the larger image. It's a little bit wider than the other one, but that one, the width is contained within, so we'll see how it lines up in my Bible. So now I can kind of get a look at the width to make sure it's got enough room, and it definitely, I can see on both sides there's plenty of room. As long as I center it, it should be good. And then again for the height of the documents, again I can see a little bit above and below. So this document is going to fit fine in my Bible. So now I'll take you through the steps of cutting this out and making it fit into my Bible. So one thing is that I just want to make sure when I cut my documents that I center it so that the height is good with whichever one is the tallest document, and then the width, whichever one is the widest. This one's slightly wider. I want to make sure that the main part of the image is contained. Now in this, for some reason, this Bible wasn't made as well, I don't think. I found this in my other Bible too. There's places where it kind of, this is a Smithsonian Bible, and sometimes they pull apart in some of the little sections. So this one, it's causing it to hump up quite a bit. So I'm just going to have to try and do my best on measuring this out. So I think the easiest thing for me first is to look at the width, and I can see that this is going to be fine on this end. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is decide for sure what is my outer edge. So I think this will be fine right here. I just want to make sure, yeah, that hump is making it a little tricky. And I also want to make sure that I don't go diagonal. So what I'm going to do is line up the top of the page with this just to make sure that it's straight, because I'm not going to cut based on the height yet. I'm just worried about the width at this moment. So then when I get to the edge of the page, I'm just going to make a bend mark right here, just to give me a guide when I'm cutting it. And that's actually all I'm going to do at this time, is just cut this one mark. So now what I'm going to do is cut it up on this one side, and then I'm going to set it in my Bible. This is actually the outer edge because this one I have going with Genesis 13, but I need to find out this inner margin. So I'm actually going to set it in this way. It's just to find the width of it. And one thing I know, I've had comments about this, you can just use the ruler. I'm just not as much of a mathematical person. I just find this easier for me. But you can definitely, when you're doing this, just use a ruler. And so what I do on the edge here is I just fold it down to make another crease. And in this case, I can actually figure out the height as well. So I want it to be kind of centered on this page. So I'm actually going to make all of the creases for the other 3 sides. And the more of a crease, the easier, of course, that it is to see. And I tend to cut a little bit inside of that. And sometimes that makes it so that my page is a little bit small, but a lot of times it doesn't matter, it's close enough. Let's see. So now I'm going to cut that out. I think I'll have it where the bend is going up just to help me out. And this isn't exactly centered. So now we'll put it in my Bible and see how it lines up. So this is the side I want facing the Battle of the Kings. So I'm actually going to cut off a little bit more to the length. I think that the width is good. It's just the height is a little bit tall because once I get gluing, it can get shifted just slightly, and so a little bit of wiggle room is a good thing. So I noticed this side was a little bit wider with the white, so I'm going to take just a little bit off that top part. So that looks really good. I can see the cream around all of it. And so the last thing I'm gonna do is round the edges with some scissors. I've actually seen that you can buy some corner tools, but I just don't have one. So I just do my best. And my last thing is to glue it in. So to do this, I just use an Elmer's glue stick, and it's actually a purple color, but it does dry clear. And I just twist it out a little bit. The one thing to mention about this is you don't want to come up too far. I just want it to be on the edge part so it glues into the binding and it doesn't glue to the side of the page. I mean, it happens, it's just your page will stick with this page. So I'm going to run it up the edge. And it's nice because since it is purple, you can see where the glue is. It might be that my glue stick has dried out a little bit, but I'm just going to take off these little extra clumps. And then I just set it into the binding and try to line it up while it's still movable. And then I just close it in there. And if at any point I see that it hasn't glued that well, it starts to come up, I always have my glue stick with me in my little bag that I take with my Bible. And so I can always reapply some more glue at that time. And of course, with any of my inserts, these are free. Since I've already done it, you can send me an email and I can email this out to you and I'll just have it already set up for my Bible, and you can always stretch it or shrink it like I showed you so that it fits your Bible. So anyway, that's how I add inserts to my Bible. Have fun. Let me know if you have any questions. If you would like clarification on any of this process, just send me a message and I'll definitely try and help you out.